Like think about an OR doctor. They're about to be, doing a surgery, and their tools are in this room and that room, and they're not sanitized, and everything's around. Like you cannot be successful or effective in your job if you don't know where those tools are. Understanding where your data lives at your association or your organization is paramount to really starting the foundation and building up a privacy program, a security program. It's just super important to find out where's that data coming in. You may find a lot of surprises. I think it's important to leverage your team. I'm thinking, Kelly, maybe folks in the sales and marketing team to kind of ask, where are those subscription forms? What does our website look like? Do we have web services collecting data? And I think maybe member managers as well, Kelly?
Yeah. I would say, again, it's going to depend on your association because I think in my own experience, I've worked with associations of very different sizes, and I know customers of Higher Logic that are incredibly different sizes. We have teams of two and teams of 200. So, I think if you're a smaller team and you're not exactly sure who to incorporate, then I would just kind of get everybody together and say, what data do we have coming into the organization and where is it being stored and what potential do we have for using it with AI? Like what are the different departments maybe thinking of using AI to process that data or look into that data? And again, like Amanda said, in my mind, in the small team that I worked with, two of the main departments that are going to have data coming in or are managing or tracking that data are your membership department and your marketing department, because your membership department has members signing up and coming in, and your marketing department has folks subscribing to your email list and that kind of thing, and they're using the data that they have about your member contacts. So those are the two departments that like immediately come to my mind from my experience, but I think it could be different departments for your organization depending on how segmented and siloed your departments are at your organization.
That's a great example. I love that, Kelly. That's great. And then let's kind of dive into the different data classification levels. So as you're collecting all of this data, where is this all coming in? And what are we processing? What are we holding on to? What are we sharing, right? So as you're looking at this data that you have, that you can then add sort of like a classification or category level to this type of data. So I think public, we all know, is data that's freely shared, that's online. Think of internal data as, maybe some member internal resources or competitive analysis and things like that, or maybe reports that's considered internal. So it needs better safekeeping. Maybe not necessarily personal data is there in that internal data. Then you've got the secret data, and it requires more of a strict access level. It could be things like intellectual property, trade secrets, things like that. So you have that sort of in the secret bucket. And then for restricted, think about sensitive data, social security numbers, credit card numbers, anything that might contain that sensitive data might fall under the restricted bucket. So I think it's really important to kind of have all of that classified. Then once you have that information classified, where is their personal data that lives within each category? Because that's going to be really important as we talk about, or as you think about compliance and any emerging privacy laws. That's really important to know where all of that personal data is, or PII. And don't forget that PII is personally identifiable information. It might not just be a first and last name. It's just a way that you can identify the individual. Another quick thing I wanted to throw out there is when I was talking about public data, I was thinking about like membership lists. That should not, I mean, that's up to your organization and what's transparent, but I've seen some organizations that actually have member data out there for the public, like can just go through the directory. Think about having that behind a login and making sure that's transparent to folks that sign up, that are members, that their data is actually out there in the public, because then it could get ingested, right, into a LLM or whatnot. So be very aware and cognizant of that. And another thing I think that I should clarify is when personal data is fully anonymized, then it can be taken out of the scope of a privacy law. If things are aggregate, de-identified, synonymized can still be considered personal data. So watch out for that. So I just wanted to bring that up because that kind of falls into the data classifications. And then also, we talked about determining the use case, make sure that it's purposeful and strategic, and you're not just bringing in AI for everything, right? That's super important. The reason why we have the two other bullets, the purpose limitation and data minimization, is because GDPR and other comprehensive privacy laws are very heavily focused on these principles of purpose limitation and data minimization, making sure you don't use the data outside the original purpose that you collected it for. And data minimization, don't collect date of birth if you don't need it. Ask the age instead. Don't get sensitive data there. So really limit the amount of data you're collecting, and do you really need it?
Yeah, I think those are all really good call outs, Amanda. And in my mind, I remember when we at Higher Logic did our own data classification, it made me go back in my head to like what we might have done at my association. And I could have literally pictured my association maybe putting uh, columns on a whiteboard and saying, what data do we know we collect or have that is public? What data do we have that we would consider internal, or whatever categories you want to use? Like these are some common categories up on the slide that people will use. But if you want to, you call the categories whatever you want,
Yeah.
that will help you remember like this is this type of data and these are the acceptable areas that we can use this data, and these are the types of AI tools that we're comfortable using this data, and this is another type of data and it's a bit more private, so it's not okay to use it in chat gpt, for example, because then the chat gpt model will be trained on this data. I did see someone in the chat bring up Bing chat. And I also am under the impression of what someone brought up, that the free version of Bing chat is training on the anything you put in it gets put into the model. My understanding is also that the paid version doesn't put things into the model, but those are some things where you have to like double check it here and then, because it that might be the case or it might be what you think, and you might have to just double check and make sure that it hasn't changed, because you don't want to be putting private data into some of those systems. So again, I think just kind of summarizing what Amanda shared, it's about categorizing what types of data you have and what ways you're okay with using it. And remembering when you do that, is there any data that we're collecting that we maybe shouldn't, like from a data minimization perspective, like are we collecting something we don't need and we don't use, and then we're using resources to try to protect that and keep track of it. And similarly, did we collect data at one point that now we want to use for something else, but we did not get people's permission to do that? That's another important thing. And one of the things you might not have gotten someone's permission to do is take their data and put it in an AI tool that might then train a public model.